And welcome back. It's Jason Walty here. I want to share an update from Corelogic because they actually just announced their latest 12-month housing market forecast. This is from September 2022 through September 2023. And by my surprise, they're actually more bullish in their 12-month forecast compared to last month. So let's go ahead and dive right in and share their latest forecast here. They just announced this today at the time of this video. Can't believe it's November 1st already. But let's go ahead and dive right in. They share some insights regarding home prices right now compared to 1 month ago, and of course compared to 1 year ago, but also share the states and cities that have the highest rates of home price appreciation, as well as the top 5 states or top 5 cities that they predict that home prices are going to decrease over the next 12 months. Stay tuned for that. So look at this. So this is for September 2022. And again, their forecast through September 2023. And when I'm talking about home prices in today's video, I'm talking about Corelogic's HPI, or their home price index. They have an index based on home prices. This is, of course, sharing price trends based on their HPI. And this report here is published on a monthly basis. I make a video for you guys every single month. Hope you guys enjoy these videos here. They also provide home prices at a national level, a state level, as well as the city level as well, the metro level. So let's first talk about what happened last month and also 1 year ago. So according to Corelogic, home prices nationwide increased year over year by 11.4% this September. That's September 2021 through September 2022. Home prices, or their HPI, increased by 11.4%. On a month-over-month basis, home prices declined by 0.5% in September 2022. I want to talk a little bit about these two metrics right here because depending on what source you look at, you're going to get different numbers. And in my opinion, this is due to different sample sizes that Zillow looks at, Redfin, Realtor.com, as well as Corelogic. So I want to share how the National Association of Realtors is reporting data right now versus Corelogic very, very quickly here. So again, this is for September, year-over-year gains of 11.4% and a 0.5% decrease from August 2022 through September here. So here's a data upload I pulled from the National Association of Realtors. I made a separate video regarding this about a week ago, but it's worth mentioning again very, very briefly here because when Corelogic is saying that home prices declined by 0.5%, the National Association of Realtors reported based on their data, based on my analysis, that home prices declined by 1.8% from August. That's because in August, the median sold price in the US was just under $392,000. And in September, home prices decreased to $384,800. So by my dumb math right there, or I should say by my Excel formula, home prices decreased by 1.8% month over month. And also looking at my analysis here, right here, home prices each September or every August through September, going back to 2010. In other words, the average September month-to-month change going back to 2010, the average is a 2.9% decrease. So when looking at this decrease of 1.8% that we saw in September on a month-over-month basis, that's not as bad as the historical averages going back to 2010 based on my nerdy analysis here. But here's something that's definitely worth mentioning again though, because I found out that the all-time record high for, again, the median sold price in the US, according to the National Association of Realtors, in June was $413,800. And 3 months later, it decreased to $384,800. So again, by my dumb math right here, or my formula, home prices declined by 7%. So home prices declined by 7% over the past 3 months. And this is from the highs we saw back in June. And because this number here seemed to be a little bit high, I actually looked at what was the averages from June through September each year going back to 2010. And the average was actually 4.7%. So the decrease we saw from June to September this year was 7%, but the average is actually 4.7% going back to 2010. So very, very briefly here, this 1.8% decrease on a month-over-month basis is below the historical averages going back to 2010. However, when looking at the differences in home prices from June through September each year, going back to 2010, the average was 4.7%, but this year it's down by 7%. So we have some headwinds that our housing market is facing right now, and I definitely just kind of want to briefly touch on that because the numbers right here obviously are vastly different than what other sources are reporting as well. And I tend to make a lot of videos regarding the housing market and share multiple sources because each of these companies here uses different sample sizes and also at times different time periods here. So that's what's happening right now with home prices. Let's have a look at their forecasts according to Corelogic here. Let me just scroll down right here. So the forecast is right here. So their forecast for September through October of this year is for home prices to be flat, 0.0% gain. From September 2022 through September 2023, their new forecast is for a 3.9% increase in home prices. And I'm actually really kind of scratching my head regarding this because I've been tracking their forecast that they report on a monthly basis here for over a year. So check this out because their housing market predictions for home prices to increase by 3.9% over the next 12 months is their first forecast that's not a downward revision in quite some time here. So have a look at this. I'm just gonna look at my notes right here. So pardon me for reading my notes here. But from April 2022 through April 2023, at that time, their forecast was for a 5.6% increase in their HPI or their home price index. And this, by the way, was our first year-over-year downgrade because the previous month, which of course was, March through March, was a 5.9% increase in home prices. Then in the following month, May 2022 through May 2023, the real estate market predictions was for a 5% gain in home prices. Again, that was a second consecutive downward revision in their 12-month forecast. Then in June, they called for a 4.3% increase in home prices. Then in July, 3.8% increase. And at that time, that was their fourth downgrade in their 12-month forecast here. And then in August 2022 through August 2023, they called for a 3.2% increase in home prices. However, though, that was their fifth consecutive downward revision in their 12-month housing market forecast here. And at 3.2%, that's more on par with the long-term averages of home price gains on a year-over-year basis. And now in September, they're calling for a 3.9% increase in home prices. And this is their first upward revision in their housing market forecast in the last 6 months. So what do you guys think about this? Because they went from a 3.2% increase in home prices from August to August 2023. Now they're calling for a 3.9% increase in home prices from September through September 2023. So this is their first upward revision in their housing market forecast in at least the last 6 months. So it's kind of interesting that they think that it appears they're thinking that our housing market is going to look a lot better in September 2023, potentially because the Fed may pivot. Like, who knows? Anyways, let's go ahead and read on to their forecast here. They also talk about migration patterns continuing to drive home price growth and actually in the Southeast. And I'll share some data regarding this here in a little bit. But it says here, as in previous months, Southeastern states put up significantly higher price gains than the national growth rate. Again, the national growth rate was 11.4% according to Corelogic here. And Florida actually led the country for the 8th consecutive month in September. And it says, although rising mortgage rates continue to dampen housing demand nationwide, I would agree with this because every housing market is going to be impacted by rising rates. There's not going to be a single housing market that's not going to be affected by rates over 7% right now. And I actually had some news to share regarding rates here in just a little bit. So Corelogic is saying that rates are dampening our housing market nationwide here, but migration from more expensive states on the West Coast as well as the Northeast is likely fueling home buyer enthusiasm for properties in relatively more affordable Southeastern states. And I actually have some trends to share with you guys that actually kind of support their claim here regarding that Southeastern states are reporting home price gains of a little bit higher compared to the national averages. So here's a report from the National Association of Realtors for existing houses, the median sold prices. So on a year-over-year basis, nationwide, according to the National Association of Realtors, is an 8.4% increase. That's September 2021 through September 2022. But they also share by region as well, the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, and the West. So look at this. The South, the median sold price increased by 11.8%, whereas nationwide only increased by 8.4%. Also in the Midwest, increasing by only 6.9%, the West increasing by 7.1%, and of course the Northeast increasing by 8.3%. So the South was the only region here that recorded double-digit increases in home prices. And according to the deputy chief economist for Corelogic, she stated the following, and that's Selma Help. The rapid increase in prices during the COVID-19 pandemic caused many U.S. housing markets to reach completely unaffordable levels for potential local home buyers. That's absolutely true. On the West Coast and the Mountain West states, home prices are slowing from this spring's high. And by the way, we saw all-time record highs in many markets across the United States in May and June of this year. Anyway, she says here that home prices are slowing from this spring's high, but remain elevated from 1 year ago. And she's absolutely correct, because if you look at home prices in 2019 compared to now, the gains are absolutely remarkable. So speaking of that, take a look at this, because this is for Boise, Idaho. So look at this. The year-over-year increase in home prices, or I should say the median sold price according to Redfin, is only a 2% increase. Look at this though, because back in May of this year, Boise saw a 17% year-over-year gains in home prices during that time. And at that time, the median sold price was $546,000, and now it's $494,000. So prices in Boise, like many markets across the United States, have been declining since May and June of this year. But look at this, because this is pretty remarkable, because when looking at prices, or the gain in prices in Boise, Idaho, compared to 3 years ago, look at this, because back in 2019 at this time, the median sold price was only $314,000. And by my dumb math, that's a 57% increase in home prices in Boise, Idaho over the last 3 years, which is absolutely insane. In contrast, according to the deputy chief economist for Corelogic, she said markets that continue to see an in-migration, in other words, a lot of people moving into that area from higher income households, are still experiencing home price gains that are notably higher than the national rate of appreciation. So one market for this is actually in Miami, Florida. Look at this, because this is absolutely insane right here. Look at these price gains. So right now, the median sold price in Miami, Florida is $481,000 according to Redfin. And that's a 19% increase on a year-over-year basis. How insane is that? And here's something else that's pretty remarkable in Miami as well, because during the peak, which was right here, more or less June of this year, they also had an 18% year-over-year gain in home prices. So prices in Miami, Florida have been very much elevated compared to the national averages. Corelogic also provides some insights regarding home prices by state. They say here that on a national level, home prices increased by 11.4% year over year in September, and no states posted an annual decline in home prices. In other words, every single state reported increase, or at least flat, compared to 1 year ago. The states with the highest increases year over year were the following. Take a look at this. Florida led the pack, or led the nation, I should say, a 23% increase in home prices from September 2021 through September 2023. Or 2022, I should say. Look at that, 23% gain in home prices on a year-over-year basis, blowing away all these other states here. South Carolina increasing by 17.6%. And by the way, even though these other states are well below Florida, still these gains of over 13% on a year-over-year basis is very much elevated, because historically speaking, home prices tend to increase in the range of 3 to 6%, and of course not 13 and 23%. Anyways, Tennessee at 17.4%, Georgia at 17.1%, North Carolina also at 17.1%, Vermont at 15.2%, Arkansas 14.8%, Texas 13.7%, Arizona at 13.6%, and running out the top 10, Alabama at 13.5%. And here's a map showing the percent change in home prices on a year-over-year basis here. And as you can see right here, most states reported gains in the range of 10 to 15% and also 5 to 10%. There was only one state, which was Washington, D.C., that recorded an increase in home prices of less than 5%. So home prices increase in Washington, D.C. in the range of 1 to 4%. On a year-over-year basis. Corelogic also provides some insights regarding home prices for the biggest 10 cities in the U.S. And look at this, because this is absolutely crazy here. Look at Miami. Gains of 25.6% from September 2021 through September of this year. 25.6%. San Diego, 10.9%. Las Vegas, 13.6%. Phoenix, Arizona, 13.8%. And also Houston, Texas at 13.1%. Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. all recorded increases of less than 10%. And also Boston at 6.5%. So Miami, Florida leading the pack, or leading the nation by far for the top 10 for the biggest U.S. cities in the nation right now. A big increase of 25.6%. So let's change gears slightly and talk about the top markets in which Corelogic predicts that home prices are going to decrease over the next 12 months. And by the way, each of these 5 markets right here, they're predicting that home prices are going to decline over the next 12 months by a very high probability, actually above 70%. According to Corelogic here. So number 1 is actually in Crestview, Fort Walton Beach, and Destin, Florida. Again, a very high probability that home prices are going to decline over the next 12 months. That was followed by Bremerton and Silverdale, Washington, Bellingham, Washington, as well as Eugene, Oregon. Eugene, Oregon, this is the first time I've seen that city on this list. This was followed by Tacoma and Lakewood, Washington. I've been making these videos for you guys for quite some time. And again, this is the first time I've seen Eugene, Oregon on this list right here. But Boise, Idaho was on this list for quite some time. So for whatever reason, it's not on the list right now. But Eugene, Oregon has made the list right now. So I actually want to share some insights regarding what we're seeing in Eugene, Oregon. Then give you guys an update regarding mortgage rates at the end of this video here. So let's see what's going on in Eugene, Oregon to see if we can kind of get some understanding regarding why Corelogic believes that home prices are going to decrease over the next 12 months there. So new listings in Eugene, Oregon are down by almost 28% on a year-over-year basis. So new listings are down. We're not seeing enough new houses being listed for sale, at least compared to 2019, which is the blue line right here, as well as 2021. So new listings are down by 28%. Let's look at pending home sales when a home seller accepts an offer from a home buyer. Pendings are down by 37%, below levels in 2019 as well as 2021. So pendings are down by 37%. Let's look at active listings, which is housing supply. So in Eugene, Oregon, the housing supply is up by 11.85% from the same time period in 2021. So they have 642 houses for sale right now. Compare this to 2021, they had about 574 houses for sale. Also compared to 2019 this time, they had 875 houses for sale. So new listings are down, pending home sales are down, and active listings are up compared to last year. So let's have a look at price reductions because I'm guessing those have been increasing. And this is on altosresearch.com for Eugene, Oregon right now. So let's have a look at this. The share of properties with a price reduction for the week ending October 28th is basically 47%. This is above last year's levels at, drumroll, 37%. 2020, it was 36%. And pre-COVID, back in 2019, it was 47%. So it's really interesting to see that the share of price drops right now in Eugene, Oregon is more or less on par with 2019's levels, but still well above 2020 as well as 2021. Let's look at home prices though in Eugene, Oregon, which is right here. So the median sold price in Eugene, Oregon is at $456,000. That's a 7% increase on a year-over-year basis. And when looking at this, home prices have been more or less flat for quite some time, really going back until April at 465. Let's just look, 456,000. Going back right here, right there, is more or less March. So home prices have been flat since March in Eugene, Oregon, which is kind of interesting. Let's look at days in the market to see how fast or how slow houses are selling though. So this is a time frame when a home seller accepts an offer from a home buyer to when they list the house for sale. That's days in the market. So days in the market right now is more or less 18 days. So it's taking about 8 days slower to sell a house compared to 1 year ago. So days in the market is 17 days or 18 days right now. Compare this to 2021, it was taking about 10 days to sell a house. and now it's 17.7 days. It's also interesting to see that days on the market is very close to 2019's levels as well, as you can see right here. Let's look at the average sale price to list price ratio. See that fast, 15 times. So the average ratio right now is more or less on par with 2019 and has been for quite some time. So houses are selling approximately 1% below the seller's asking price on average during this time frame, according to Redfin. Going back 1 year ago, the ratio was 101%. Meaning houses selling for about 1% over the asking price. Now they're selling for about 1% below the asking price. And to be honest with you guys, look at these metrics right here. I've seen other cities that are looking a lot worse, where they're seeing a lot more price reductions. They're seeing a huge increase in housing supply. And also a lot of other metrics that's showing that the housing markets are slowing down much more than Eugene, Oregon. So anyways, just curious to see that Corelogic believes that these are one of the top 5 metros where home prices are going to decrease over the next 12 months. So interesting to see their take on it. But let's look at the 10-year treasury right now. At the time of this video, which is around noon on, what is this, Tuesday or Wednesday? I think it's Tuesday. The 10-year is at 4.061%. That's a slight decrease compared to yesterday. And also, according to the Mortgage News Daily, as of today, the average rate for people with exceptional credit nationwide for a 30-year fix is 7.09%. For a 15-year fix, it's 6.5%, VA at 6.78%, and FHA at 6.71%. And going back 1 year ago, average rates were at 3.18%. So in other words, mortgage rates have increased about 3.91 percentage points or 391 basis points over the last 12 months. And also, according to Investopedia.com, as of today, rates are averaging at 7.27%. Again, that's an average across the nation for people with exceptional credit. If you guys got any value in this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.